I was so unhappy. And I just knew to myself, I have to do something different. When you have clarity on something, when the mind expands to a new idea, it can never return to the way that it was. And then I started just tuning in and figuring out, what is it that makes me happy? What you do creates an impact. If you can help a woman be in her prime, feel secure, have more energy, more vitality, the ripple effect is immeasurable of that, because she's going to impact her relationships, how she is as a mother, a partner, a sister.
Are you a high-performing woman over 40 juggling career, family, and personal fulfillment? Ever felt like something missing despite your achievements? Finding someone to share these feelings with can be tough. That's why I created this Menopause Wonder Show for high-performing women over 40 like you, navigating the challenges of midlife, especially perimenopause, menopause, or postmenopause, with grace and vitality. Today, we're diving into the journey of a woman who boldly redefined her success in midlife by leaving her lavish corporate job at its peak. Her name is Patty Dominguez, a small business entrepreneur's powerhouse and a renowned marketing expert. Patty also shares how she tackled her perimenopause challenges. With Patty's insights, you discover how to embrace your chapter in life, redefining success in midlife on your own terms. Are you ready? Let's dive right in. So welcome, Patty.
Thank you so much for having me on your show and inviting me to be on. It's truly an honor. I always find you to be so inspiring, so I'm happy to contribute wherever I can. So let's have some fun.
Yes! I'm so excited about today's topic because this is something we both experienced, meaning that at the peak or the height of our career, it could be a corporate, it could be some other entrepreneurship, but there might be a time when you feel like empty. Like, is it worth pursuing this path?
Yeah.
And I understand that back in like 2012, right? You
Yeah.
moved away from your corporate. So could you share with us a little bit about your journey and how you actually navigated yourself to doing what you're doing right now? Just a brief
Yeah.
story to get started.
Thank you. I mean, ever since I was young, my parents are from Central America, and their big wish was for me to go to school, to go to college so I can have a good job. So that's what I did, and I had done all the steps that I needed to do in order to have a career. And when I had my first son, I was working on my MBA, and I finished when I was pregnant with my second son. So there was a lot going on. And I recognized that in my head, I thought, okay, this is just what I have to do in order to climb the ladder. I'm going to do whatever is required. I had that mentality. And it was like, if somebody was at work until 5, I wanted to be there till 5:30, because I wanted to show that I was the one that was doing the most in order to be considered for the next level and all the things. And so in 2008, when the market crashed in October, I was given a pink slip. I was let go from that job. And it was a very jarring thing for me, because I genuinely thought, how could I let this happen? I thought I did everything right. I thought everything that I was supposed to do, I did. And so it just really gave me that first realization that I didn't have security in the job that I had. And it really jarred me. It really shifted all the beliefs I had, right? That I thought, wait a minute. I thought if I got my college, if I got my MBA, if I climbed the ladder, if I had a big position, that I would be safe. And that's definitely not the truth. And so I went back into a job in 2009. But in the back of my head, I thought to myself, I really need to figure out a way. I don't know what I want to do yet, because coaching wasn't as prevalent as it is now. But I had a lot of questions. I'm like, I'm not happy. I feel like the higher the ladder I go, the more miserable I feel. And that's not the way it's supposed to work. So what can I do? And so in the back of my mind, when I was in 2009, I had come across the book by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and there are no
Mm.
mistakes. So I read that book and I was like, oh, I have been working in the wrong side of the quadrant. I have to be an entrepreneur. But I didn't know what that meant. I was like, I always had ideas that I wanted to have my own business. And I thought to myself, well, surely I can figure this out. I'm an intelligent woman. How do I figure this out? And that's what started the journey. And then finally, I was at the point where I just was very unfulfilled. I took the leap of faith. I worked a day in my corporate job so that I can get my bonus. And I quit officially in January 6th of 2013. And that's when I started my entrepreneurship career. It is an adventure that I'm very grateful for. It's been over 11 years now, and it has taught me
Wow.
so much on so many levels, for sure.
Thank you so much for sharing this amazing story, because I think many of the women who are watching this video interview or
Yeah.
listening can relate. You also found that a beautiful true calling inside you, what happened during the career. So could you bring us to the moment? Because I think this might really resonate with the women who are thinking, okay, there might be something more. Is it even like thinking about this even worth it?
Oh gosh, this is so telling, because for me, the thing that I started coming across after I recognized that my job was not an asset, and I read that book, and then I just started becoming really more educated on what my options were, right? So I think
Mm-hmm.
when you have clarity on something, when the mind expands to a new idea, it can never return to the way that it was. Because
Mm-hmm.
once you know, you can't unknow what you know. And that's when I started really recognizing, I'm like, well, I have to do something different. And then I started tuning in and figuring out, what is it that makes me happy? Because what is happening is I'm not happy. I would go into work and I would see people doing the same thing over and over again. It was a routine. It was like the hamster on the wheel, and we're just doing and
Mm-hmm.
we're going through the motions, but we're not really stopping and figuring out. And I think for me, the moment that I just couldn't do it anymore, I remember I go into a meeting and I see this guy, he's an engineer, older gentleman. And I said to him, I'm going to call him John. I said, hey, John, how's
Mm-hmm.
it going? And he said, 8 more years. And I'm like, what? Excuse me? And he said, 8 more years and I can get out of here. And I said, okay. It just really threw
Oh,
me, it caught me aback. And I was like, he's like, I'm just buying time to get through this for 8 more years. And I looked at him in that moment, and in my head, I thought to myself, I never want to be like that. I think the biggest insult that you can do in life is to say, I'm killing time. I'm just killing time. This is an expression in English that people say.
oh,
I'm killing
I
time.
love it.
Well, it's horrible, because if you think about it, how disrespectful. We have a finite amount of time. And so what we want to do is
Yes.
make sure we're honoring our time, because we take time for granted. And if you only
Yeah.
have a specific amount of time, why would you waste it? Right? And so that to me
Oh,
was like a big moment. I was like, I didn't even know where this came from, Miyako. I just had this epiphany. I was like, I have to do something different. I can't let this be me. If I already
wow.
feel like this now, and I'm going to retire in, say, 30 years or 25 years, where am I going if I already feel like this now? So through a leap of faith, I said, I have to do something different. I quit my job. I gave back my stock options. I was at the height of my career where I was being groomed to be into higher rankings and stuff. And I was so grateful for the opportunity to get to work with really smart people, great company, great pay, but I was so unhappy. And I just knew to myself, I was like, I have to do something different. And like I said, I took a leap of faith. And so for the person that is listening to me and that story, and if you have ever thought to yourself, could I do this? Yes, you can. It's definitely imperative that you get yourself around people who believe in what you want to do. Because people
Exactly.
that I used to work with, they thought I was crazy. And it gets really lonely and right? It gets complicated because you
Yeah.
know, people are saying, "Oh, she's crazy. Why would she ever do that?" My family was saying, "You're crazy." Not my immediate family, my extended family.
Mhm.
Friends, they thought it was nuts and they just couldn't understand. And so in that process, you are in a position where you're standing alone, it's so important to have a community around you of like-minded people who are doing the same thing you're doing. They're striving. It's, to your point, high performing women, we're looking for a different way of being, of functioning, of moving. I just knew to myself, I have to do something it's just different. A big deal. When you have clarity on something, if you're thinking about leaving your career, just know that it's possible, but you have to have that support system. And then I started just tuning in and figuring out what is it that makes me happy.
That's truly inspiring, and your story brought me back to my memory that I also had that realization of like, I'm killing my time, because during business dinner with my client back in my corporate, I was in a beer company. There are a lot of like a dinner, and I had to spend with them rather than spending meaningful conversation with my husband.
Ever felt like
I love him so much, but that time about losing my time, and they are talking chit chatting all these kind of corporate politics and who's who, where to connect. Okay, that's nice, but why am I here?
Here's the thing. I will say that being an entrepreneur again, when it's been 11 years for me, I wouldn't trade it for the world. You do go through a lot of different ebbs and flows, and I think that with energy, that's what you teach, and
lavish corporate job at
it's also the most profound way that you can grow, right? And the best part of it, and the thing that we have talked about, you and I, is that we are women, midlife, past midlife, and we are in our prime. I mean, I genuinely believe that. I really do. I think it's so exciting. That's why I have to bring it back to you, because I admire you so much. You are someone, seriously, you're someone that I talk to people about all the time. I'm like, oh, Miyako, you should see, she's so amazing. She's in her 60s. She's a YouTuber and is a TikToker and doing amazing things. And it just goes to show you, if you have that yearning, if you have the feeling that you want to do something different, your body is telling you. And so you have to lean into it, even when it seems crazy, because what we do to other people may sound crazy, right? We're talking about postmenopause or menopause or perimenopause and stuff. And to other people, they'd be like, that's so weird. Why would they want to? But I know you have such a specific mission. I have a mission for what I do. And I think that's the important thing, is just revisiting and coming back to the core of your why. Like, why do you feel this way? What would you do if money weren't an issue? If it didn't matter what other people think, what would you be doing? Right. And I think that's the really important question to ask yourself, and just to get really honest, right? It's not about the title, but so many people are defined by their title. And because of that, they limit what is possible for them. And I think that's such a missed opportunity.
Definitely. And I wanted to share, Patty was one of the mentors, opened up the way for me to being able to help high-performing women in perimenopause and menopause going through the challenges.
Right.
You actually opened the way talking about your perimenopause journey.
I remember the story.
Yeah, you pretty beautiful, like eyeballs are like popping out of your head.
I was like, wait a minute, what? Okay, so because I remember you have this deep rooted expertise that I think is so impressive, because you've learned through a master key expert for 30 years. Right. You were talking about breathing and the importance of breathing and energy, and you would talk about all these things. And I remember people would say, oh, that's amazing, Miyako, that's really amazing. And then people wouldn't move forward, right? And so we had a discussion. How do we find the message, that sweet spot that is going to get people inspired to take the step forward to work with you, right? Because it sounds like just saying breathing is not enough. Breathing is breathing, but I don't have a sense of urgency if I wanted to improve my breathing. Exactly. I remember we had this conversation. I said, if your offer is just nice to have, it's not going to sell. It's just not going to sell. So we have to find something, right? And so in one of our coaching sessions, I had talked about, I don't know how we got on the topic, because I went into early menopause, really early. I think I was 40 or 41, very early.
I remember.
And it was horrible. It was such a horrible experience. Like the hormonal fluctuations and the hot flashes, and my hair would fall out in clumps. Crazy
Yeah.
menopausal symptoms. And then you said to me, and I'll never forget, you're like, "Oh, I've never had a hot flash." I was like, "What?" And that was my face. I was like, "What?" My eyeballs were like big plates. I was like, "How is that
Yes.
possible?" And then you said, "Well, because of my breathing and how I put into practice what I've learned over 30 years." I'm like, "What?" I said, "Miyako, the women in perimenopause and menopause deserve to know this information, because we
Yes.
here in the United States, in Western society, have no idea about what you're talking about. And this is so needed in the world." And you said, "Oh my gosh, I can help people with this, with what I know, who are perimenopausal and menopausal." I go, "Exactly." So that it helped to create a new path for you where you're still
Yes.
using your expertise, but you're saying it into an audience that needs what you have, which is really
Exactly.
exciting. Yeah.
We talked about finding something missing, like even the feeling of you want to pursue your true passion. And
Yeah.
then you have someone to support you. So it's really surprising that when you take a tiny little step, then somebody to help, like for me, Patty, appears. Whenever I talk to my clients that struggling with menopausal migraines and headaches,
Mhm.
I recognize that there's something that inside energetically, which I'm expert is at, like energetically, there are conflicting energy. And
Mhm.
they want to pursue or they have some like inspiration, but they're like pulling back, pushing it back or hiding them or whatever that
Mhm.
happening inside you that you are not
Wow.
even aware of. And that is one of the, I should say, core causes of these horrible migraines.
Wow.
So have you ever experienced that for yourself or with your clients too? Okay, once you recognize it, it's comes back to our topic is that okay, you are unstoppable woman anyway. After 56, you're leaving a corporate at your peak and starting like a YouTube channel, right? And people laugh,
Right.
right? What's important is that okay, how can we find that support and also nurturing your path without having struggle inside? So for you, is there anything you can share with how you managed your battle inside you? Maybe subconscious or conscious?
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely. To me, the thing that is so essential is that in my 30s, I used to put everything before my own care. And even in my 40s, it's been the type of thing where I was an entrepreneur and I thought I had to do everything by myself, right?
Mhm.
I thought I had to do. And it was all about taking massive action, as you hear. And what started happening was I equated being a high performance woman with taking a lot of action, with doing a lot of work, with working
Mhm.
the hardest. And a lot of different coaches have told me back then, when I used to be that way, that you are a hardaholic. Why do you make things so hard? Because in my head, I was always under the understanding that if I wanted to be successful, I had to work really, really hard. And what I've come to
Yeah.
discover over the past, I would say, I really have been conscious of my personal development over the past, I would say, 9 years, where I just really
Mm.
started discovering more of the reality of how and what it means to be a high performing woman. And now
Yes.
I really just honor the way that I'm wired, meaning I'm not a morning person. And for a really long time, I used to beat myself up about it. I used to feel bad that I wasn't a morning person. And it wasn't until a mentor of mine said, "Well, no, you're more aligned with the moon, right? Instead of the sun." And that's okay. Not everyone is like a
Mm-hmm.
morning riser and things like that, because I would feel guilty. I'm like, I really just want to sleep until like 7:30. That would be great. But you start
Yeah.
hearing and reading these books of people saying that they wake up at 4 in the morning to go work out and do the things, and it's just not who I am. And so the important thing that I discovered is really honoring who you are and putting yourself first. And it's not selfish to do so. So in the morning, I have my quiet time, I have my meditation time, I have my journaling time, I write my affirmations, and I have a very specific pattern, routine, if you will, of what I do every single morning. And because
Mm-hmm.
of that, I have more peace and calm, and I'm more grounded, and I feel joyful, and it brings a better version of me when it's time to help my clients. And I think that's what's really important. I never ever did that when I was in corporate. I was always going and going and going. I never thought for once to stop and work on myself first. I never put my self-care first. And
Mm.
so that's when what you teach is so important, because if you are a high performing woman, it's redefining what that means.
Yes,
In
exactly.
your prime years, you have to redefine what it means to be high performing. It's not doing, doing, doing until you're exhausted. It's putting yourself first, self care, understanding how energy works so that you can work the energy in your favor. And that's what's going to give you the compounded effect, more energy, more vitality, more of what you really want. Because like I mentioned, you and I are the same. In my 50s and my 60s, I am not going to slow down. I have so much energy to do
Yeah.
things and to put out content and help and I work on my passion every day. So it's not work. I get to do this and it's really exciting. So in order for me to work on my passion, I have to be full of energy. And if I didn't put myself first, I couldn't give as much as I give.
Wow. What we used to operate in our 30s won't work anymore. And
Right.
that has to be like it could be harsh reality. You can pretend that you are like young, like 20 years, but for us and me as in 60 especially,
Mhm.
our body condition changes. That's true. So how we can manage our energy comes first. Because like you said, when we don't have enough energy, how can we serve your family or
Yeah.
the people you care for, right? Like your
Right.
clients, all these. If you are like too exhausted, it's so beautiful to take care of yourself, but also take care of your passion too, which comes back to
Absolutely.
our topic. And once you have that, there is, I call this like utility
Hmm.
pathway. It's having more space and balance in your lifestyle. And you're beautifully allowing, like embracing all these spaces of clarity, gaining clarity, and even productivity in your days. So, Patty, moving
Absolutely.
forward, what are you passionate about right now?
Yeah, I'm super passionate about conscious capitalism. And what I mean by that is, I really genuinely believe that small business owners are the heartbeat of growth. And so I'm very, very passionate about helping small business owners, independent, privately owned small businesses to thrive. And I know that
Yeah.
in order for them to thrive, people have to know about who they are. So I help them get their message out there, because I believe everybody who has an ethical business, like you have an ethical business, like I have an ethical business,
Mm-hmm.
we deserve to get the word out about what we do and the value we bring and the solutions we offer to the people that we are meant to serve. And that's what I mean about being a conscious capitalist, is like you want to leave the world a better place than before you got here. you know? So I think that's very
Yeah.
important.
Yes. I love the word that you selected, especially adding like a conscious before capitalism. Because
Yeah,
conscious meaning that you have that intention, that like your own
correct.
vision of the world that you want to see. And that's
Yeah.
so inspiring for most of us.
What I was going to say is that
Mm-hmm.
capitalism, as of late, has gotten kind of a bad connotation almost, like the word capitalism, like, oh, you care about his money. And it gets kind of clumped in with being I don't know, about being greedy corporations or whatever. I'm seeing a lot more of that, politically, and it's not here nor there for this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to bring it back down to is that I think, and that's when I really started really thinking about, I'm like, no, I really feel like we're conscious capitalists. Like, we have a business that adding value to the world. It is creating impact for people because what you do creates an impact. If you can help
Mm-hmm.
a woman be in her prime, feel secure, have more energy, more vitality, the ripple effect is immeasurable of that because she's going to
Yeah.
impact her relationships, how she is as a mother, a partner, a sister, right? And it's a grandmother, whatever it is, there's a ripple effect there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have something of value to offer as a business owner, it deserves to be broadcasted out and amplified. And so that's what I'm so passionate about is I feel like we need to redefine what it means to be small business owners. And I'm very proud of being a small business owner. And I shop at small businesses. I purposely will select small businesses because we have to support each other as business owners and entrepreneurs. So that's what I'm very passionate about.
Right. That's so beautiful because for me too, I don't really want to go back to corporate because I seek for freedom. I also feel like I can't hold this kind of beautiful, like, how should I say, jewelry, the gold nugget inside of me and just keep it in myself. Because at the end of the day, we talked about this, but time is precious and I just can't hold it and go or transition to the next, like, to the next, like, university, right? So
Yeah,
uh, because we have some those beautiful experiences or expertise that we be building, and I'm still a learner of new things, so that's why I so much enjoy working with Patty and keep learning in the online space, whatever. But also just to honor your real passion, like a seedling, like seeding a little bit of that tiny little seedling you see, and you give water every day, and it grows even after 40 or 50, right?
absolutely.
S-
Absolutely.
yeah. So, is there any, like, last advice for people who are watching and are feeling, okay, how should I move next? Right? There
Yeah.
might be something still hiding inside of me.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't be where I am had it not been for the good counsel of coaches and
Mm-hmm.
mentors and personal development. I really believe that being an entrepreneur is the greatest personal development school. I would start to invest in yourself, whether
Mm-hmm.
that is investing in a program or a coach or somebody to help you to gather your ideas and help it put into fruition and to see what would be possible. And I don't think it's like, it's not getting bogged down in, oh, how could I do that? I could never do that. It's like, no, it's finding a new conversation with yourself to say, how can I make that happen? How can I
Mm-hmm.
make this move? How can I leave my corporate job? How can I build a business for myself? Right? Ask yourself better questions. And when you ask yourself better questions, you'll have better potential outcomes. But if you're just getting bogged down in the, I hate my job, and being in that water cooler talk of gossip and things that are not making you feel good or inspired, right? It's time to get inspired. We have a finite amount of time that we're here. Why not make it the best that you can? You deserve to have happiness and fulfillment. And I don't think that's too much to ask. At the end of the day, we just want to be happy. And so if you're not happy in your job, it's time to ask yourself better questions. And the questions
Wow.
would start with, like, who can I hire to help me? How can I make this happen? Ask yourself the questions in the positive, not in the negative.
Yeah. When you have that inspiration, then I always have a conversation with Patty. If I have like, like a download, I say, I'm so friendly with my universe. So
Mm,
there's like a moment, okay, why don't I do that? Or imagine if I can do this,
there
or
you go.
imagine I can write a book. So I'm actually writing a book with Patty's guidance. But people say, okay, are you an author? No, I'm not. I'm not yet. So, right? So
Yeah.
I love your teaching so much.
Oh, yeah. I think, and I'll give credit to a mentor of mine, Jim Fortin. He says, like, are you living in possibility or are you living in consequence? And that's just a simple question. It's like, what would be possible, Miyako, if you did write a book? Or what would be possible if you started a YouTube channel? What would be possible if you change the angle of what it is that you're selling? Like, you are a great example of somebody who's always living in possibility. But if you're living in consequence, like, oh, well, I can't do it, or, oh, I don't want to do that, I'm afraid, and all these things, and playing small, it's just so, it's exhausting, it's boring, it doesn't deserve to for you to talk like that,
Yeah.
because it doesn't help you, it doesn't make you feel better, it doesn't bring you up, it doesn't turn on your light to talk like that. So it's like, it's all at the end of the day the choice. Do you want to live in possibility or do you want to live
Mm-hmm.
in consequence? And I never forgot that, and I thought that was so awesome. And for me, the way that I see it
Awesome.
is I always say I have to ask myself better questions. That's all. And it really is
Right.
rooted in being what is possible for me.
Yes, really, really, really. And I'm so grateful for Jim Fortin because with his program, I learned about Patty's beautiful, awesome work. So that's how universe connected us. But I think people who are actually listening and watching this video might want to have time for yourself, maybe a secret space. And if you feel relaxed without any of your family appearance, maybe, and just think about, okay, what can I do? Like, moving forward. And that's a little nugget of inspiration might bring you to a state of like, where I'm doing this kind of podcast. I never believed, thought of, even imagine this could happen like 10 years ago. No, I was so busy in corporate work, piles of corporate. Patty, it's so incredibly inspiring conversation we had. So, how can people connect with you? What's the best place for them to
Miyako, thank
visit?
you. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, Patty Dominguez, Dominguez at the end. My website, you can just go to positioningexpert.com and it'll redirect you to my website and you can find out more about me there. So I'm not
Yes.
necessarily on Facebook and Instagram, more on LinkedIn because that's where my clients are.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'd be
yeah.
happy to connect with you on LinkedIn.
Great. And is there anything that you want to share about your coming project or whatever?
I basically help small business owners. And I think my one big new opportunity that I have is through a CRM. It helps automate the follow up and things like that. You can find out more information at Zagly, Zagly.io.
Zagyo, yes. Zagli, right?
LLY.io.
I,
Zagly.io. And all the
okay.
information's there. So thank you.
Yes, so I will put the link under this show description so you can find it. And I truly, truly appreciate this deep dive conversation because this is something you don't want to postpone. Because, there's a moment, like I should say, there's the momentum. So if you happen to find this or search this video coincidentally and find our conversation, it might be the time or the chances that you've been called from the universe, right?
Yeah.
And you might take this opportunity as something to like fuel you, nurture your energy so that you can not just let go of these like nasty symptoms, but there's much more beyond when you just go through and navigate this in an elegant way, then there's so much hope after even you become like 60. So that's, I'm so excited to share with you. So thank you so much for
Miyako.
being here. And I appreciate your guidance for small business owners and entrepreneurs. So much cheers to you and
Thank
all
you.
your listeners and your people who are watching this video. So seeing you soon. Bye.
Bye.